What would you do if a patient was brought to you in the ER in the middle of the night and they begged you to not let them fall asleep, and the one time you did, everything changed? This is Scared with Jess, and today's story is about a nursing student who says that she had a patient come to her in the middle of the night, terrified that there was something still inside her, and eventually the staff knew exactly what she meant. I've never posted this anywhere, and I know how it sounds, and I know what it does to people's perception of you when you work in healthcare and say something like this out loud. This was my last year of nursing school. Overnight clinicals in an ER attached to a county hospital. They were busy and underfunded, the kind of place where strange things come in all the time and you learn fast not to overreact because there's always an explanation. Drugs or maybe a head injury, psych, fear, something you can pin it to. And the girl came in around 3 a.m. A state trooper had found her walking barefoot on the shoulder of a highway. She was maybe 19, wearing a dirty t-shirt and shorts, wet to the knees, feet torn up from gravel, dried blood at the corner of her mouth, and one side of her face was swollen. The trooper said she'd been halfway into the road and wouldn't stop repeating, "Don't let me sleep." We assumed stimulant use or psychosis. She was crying but focused, and that part stayed with me. She wasn't confused about where she was. She knew the date, she knew her name, she answered all of our basic questions. She just kept grabbing at whoever got close enough and saying, "Please don't let me go under. It's still in me." The attending thought head injury plus possible intoxication. We started the usual workup. Did anyone hurt you? Are you on anything? Seizure history, medical history, all of it. She kept saying she'd fallen asleep at a friend's apartment after a party and woke up in the bathroom with blood in her mouth. She said she could hear it talking when she closed her eyes. One thing, not voices, just one specific thing. And she was begging us to not sedate her. The nurse I was shadowing told her very gently that nobody was trying to hurt her and that she needed to calm down so we could help her. The girl looked right at her and said, "It wants you to think I'm tired." In an ER at 3 a.m., that's still not the strangest thing you hear. People noted it and moved on. Then she seized. Her body locked hard for a few seconds, her jaw clenched and her hands curled in with her eyes open. She came out of it gasping and started crying again. The attending made the call to sedate her lightly so they could get scans and keep her from hurting herself. Right before they gave it, she grabbed my wrist. Mine specifically, not the nurses, not the doctors, mine. And she said, "If I sleep, don't stand near my mouth." They sedated her anyway. For maybe 30 seconds, she got calmer. Then every monitor in the room started throwing bad readings at once. Heart rate jumping, the oxygen numbers dropping and correcting, and leads going haywire. The nurse started checking connections. Then the girl's jaw started working. That's the only way I can describe it. It was moving deliberately, like she was chewing something, but there was nothing in her mouth. The doctor leaned in to check her airway and told her to open wider. So she did. There was blood everywhere. She had bitten through the side of her own tongue. A significant amount of damage. One of the nurses swore out loud. In the state she was in, with the sedative already in her system, she should not have had anywhere near the force to do that. I've seen tongue injuries from seizures, and this was different, and everybody in that room knew it. They got suction in, more staff came in, and the room flipped from weird to control chaos instantly. And then she opened her eyes. I was against the wall by then because there were too many people at the bedside, but I could still see her face. Blood on her teeth, her chin, and her gown, and she looked past the doctor directly at one of the nurses and smiled. Then in a voice that had no business coming out of her body, she said the full first and middle and last name of the nurse's dead son. The nurse stumbled backward into the counter behind her and started crying. The doctor kept working, he kept talking, trying to hold the room together, but something shifted in there. Whatever people had believed about what was happening 60 seconds before that, it was different now. The girl started laughing. Blood in her mouth, and she was laughing. Then in her own voice, quiet and weak, she said, "See?" After that, she crashed hard. Not cardiac, but serious enough that it became a different situation. ICU consult, faster scans, attending from upstairs. I got sent into the hall with another student because we were in the way. I stood out there and listened to pieces of what was happening inside. At one point, I heard someone say, "Where did all this blood come from?" At another point, I heard the nurse from before telling someone flatly that she was not going back in that room. The girl made it through the night. I confirmed that the next day, but nobody wanted to talk about what happened after she moved. Psych was mentioned, transfer was mentioned. That was as far as anyone would go. The nurse whose son's name she said called out for the rest of the week. The thing that got me most wasn't any of the moments I just described. It was right before the shift change. I was in the med room with one of the nurses when the call light from that room went off over the intercom. The girl had already been moved. The room was empty and had been for over an hour. The nurse walked to the monitor that showed which room was calling, looked at it, and said very quietly, "No." Nobody answered that light for a long time. I finished the rotation, I finished school, I still work in healthcare, but there are things from training that don't wear off no matter how many years go by, and that girl is one of them. I kept thinking about what she said before the sedative, and I kept thinking that the worst thing we did that night was not listen to her the first time. Anyway, good luck sleeping tonight.
My grandma's house is extremely haunted. Story time. This morning, I had to go by my grandma's old house to take my old man's truck to a guy who fixes tires. It's been a while since I went down there because every time I go, something scary as hell happens to me, so I tend to stay away. So I was following behind him, and right when we got up to her driveway, the whole dash goes black. The touchscreen, speedometer, everything. I had no headlights. It's foggy. I can't see the road. I had to stop. And where was I? Right at grandma's driveway. And I'm mashing buttons trying to get stuff to cut back on, but it's not working. And then I get this cold chill like the temperature dropped. And then all of a sudden the truck cuts off. And when I look down the driveway, there I see it. This thing is standing underneath the street light at the end of the driveway, and that light starts blinking on and off, and finally it cuts off, and now everything's dark. And I'm thinking to myself, I knew not to come over here. This ain't the first time this has happened. Now I got no cell service, can't call out, and I'm stuck. Just like when I was a kid, standing there waiting on the bus, the damn light would blink on and off and then cut out, and then you get the feeling like something was there with you. You know it ain't good because it stinks. It makes you sick to your stomach, and all the hair on your body stands up, and you know you better get the hell away from it fast. Man, it felt like I was reuniting with something dark that I had not felt since I was probably a teenager. When I tell you I started yanking that key trying to crank the truck, I damn near broke the key, but it would not start. Then something hit me like, you need to come home, back to your home place. You belong here. And then my truck finally crunk up. And I was that close to going back to grandma's house. I put the truck drive and everything. I was driving up the driveway when my partner called me. So I answered and he said, I've been calling and texting you for 10 minutes. You were just right behind me. Where are you? And I said, the damn truck cut off. I got stuck in grandma's driveway. And as I'm backing out the driveway, I got this overwhelming feeling of guilt. Like, why are you leaving? You belong here. Don't leave. But I did. And then the mechanic calls a while ago and says he can't find nothing wrong with the truck. It's running perfectly fine. No blown fuse, no messed up wires, no shortage, nothing. You know, besides needing that new tire, everything else is running fine. He even put the machine on it and nothing came up. I'm not stupid. I know it ain't the truck. It never is the truck. It's always the damn place. It's cursed. Sometimes when I'm sitting here, there's just something that calls out to me from the old home place like, come home. I get this pit in my stomach like, that's your family's old home place. They were born, lived, and died there. You belong there. Come back. But the other side of me says, no, you dumb bitch. You grew up there. You know what's there and it's not good. It's cursed. There's nothing but evil there. Never go back. I just started crying because I feel so torn. You can ask anyone in my family and they'll all tell you that place is cursed. They don't want to live there. There's something wrong with the land. Nobody knows what it is. All we know is grandma bought the land, we cleared it, we built the house, and then all hell broke loose. It was haunted and nobody wanted to stay there, but we had to because we sunk our money into it. We couldn't leave. Anyways, that's how my morning went. How did your morning go?
Hello and welcome back to a series of spooky stories, The Haunted Tea Spill. This series is brought to you by all things spooky and ungodly amounts of paranormal activity. Initial necklace per usual. It's cute, I wear it all the time and I always get compliments on it. It's down here if you want it. Now onto the story. I won't be using my name or my family's for this because I'm still scared to tell the story to this day, but back when I was just about maybe 5 or 7, my mother and father were fighting. I don't know what about, but whatever it was, my mom left with me and my little sister. My mom took us to one of her friends' places, and by the way, this place was like in the mountains kind of far back. They lived in a trailer. We ended up staying there for a while. Me and my sister played in the dirt with our toys while my mom tried to figure out what to do. While my mom was in the truck trying to get service, she heard a little girl's voice that wasn't neither mine nor my sister. It sounded like she was playing with us. Keep in mind, me and my little sister were playing in the dirt, so she went to check and saw no one besides us too. You said in the mountains, in the back, huh? She was weirded out but didn't think much of it and just sat with us to watch. Fast forward a bit, her friends had to leave, like literally leave with their trailer and everything. So they did, and me, my mom, and my sister were left alone, and it was getting dark. They had to just up and leave with their fucking trailer, just out of nowhere. What? My mom started packing everything up and we all got loaded into the car. But right when we got in, my mom got a really bad feeling. It felt as if the car was sinking or falling forward. What? She quickly got out to check it, but weirdly it stopped and nothing was actually happening. She had a gut feeling to get out of there, so she got back in and drove like maybe a minute, and the truck shut off. We sat there for a few minutes with my mom trying to start the truck. It was dark at this point and we couldn't see anything. All of a sudden, like 10 to 15 people came out of the dark. No flashlights, no nothing. 10 to 15 fucking strange ass people come out of nowhere. Not one of them have a flashlight in hand, just emerging from the darkness like a bunch of fucking creepy people. What the fuck? Now, by the way, there was no civilization back in the mountains where we were. It was maybe a 30-minute drive till we got to the nearest houses, and again, my mom's having a bad feeling and gets her knife out. She should be packing a lot more than that, maybe a fucking blowtorch, because 10 to 15 strange ass people emerging from the fucking dark with no flashlights. Are you kidding me? Because again, it's just me, her, my sister, surrounded by a bunch of people with a truck that won't start. One guy walks up and tries talking to my mom, saying, "We can take the battery out and start the truck for you." What do you mean take the battery out and start the truck for us? What do you mean take the battery out and start the fucking truck? It's giving off weird vibes, but it doesn't really seem that bad at first. 10 to 15 people emerging from the darkness with no fucking flashlights. Doesn't seem bad to you? My mom isn't trusting it. She tells them, "No, you will not take the battery out." The other people just sit and watch, but they somehow start the truck for us, and my mom hightails it out of there because that was just a weird situation. That was a really weird situation, friend. Really weird. Weird is actually an understatement. It was like 11 at night. Why is there 10 to 15 people in the middle of nowhere? They weren't doing anything good, I tell you that. What does a big-ass group of people in the darkness, in the middle of fucking nowhere do at night? Drugs or murder, you know? Fast forward like 7 years later, I asked my mom about what happened back then, and she sits me down and tells me what she learned about that area. Come to find out, the area that we were in was a devil worship area. She didn't know at the time, and there was literally tunnels underground where these people would take their victims and do whatever with them. What? You could quite literally hear people screaming and being unable to figure out where they were coming from because they were underground. Are we sure that it was just devil work? Maybe they're just murderers. You know what I mean? And it's still scary because my mom was trying to write a book about it and got threatened to not do it. But thinking back, what could have happened if my mom listened to them when they asked us to come out of the car to help them look at the battery? Who knows how it could have ended? Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. Listen, I'm also not suggesting that there was not devil worshipping happening. I don't know. I'm just saying some people are just fucking insane and serial unalivers. You know what I mean? Anywho, rate it on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being least scary, creepy, spooky, 10 being the most. If you have a story of your own that you want to submit, you can do so on the link tree in my profile. I will see you all at the next episode. Stay spooky, friends.
When I tell you I got sent the craziest story, I mean it. I'm not even going to summarize it in my own words. I'm just going to read it just as the anonymous sender wrote it. So let's not waste any more time and get into tonight's story. This happened to my family back in 2010 in Samour, and to this day, no one can fully explain it. My grandma had gone to Samour for a holiday to see my uncle and auntie who lived there. She wasn't sick or anything. She was actually quite well. Not too long after she arrived, they had a big feast as it was Sunday. Everything felt normal until it wasn't. My grandma was sitting there with my little 4-year-old nephew when she suddenly collapsed. No warning, no sound. My auntie rushed over trying to wake her, checking her breathing, but she was completely unconscious. They took her straight to the hospital where doctors ran tests, but everything came back normal. She had to stay overnight just to make sure everything was okay. But the next day, everything changed. When my auntie came to visit her, my grandma said there was a woman in her room. A woman who came in during the night. She said this woman was torturing her, throwing her across the room, drinking all her water, eating her food, and swearing at her. My auntie didn't believe her at first until my grandma continued to say the same thing 3 nights in a row. My auntie contacted family to let them know what was going on because she was so shocked. But while my grandma was in hospital, things started happening back at the house. My dad's other sister had just arrived in Samour with her kids. That night they went to sleep, then suddenly there was loud banging on the door. The doorknob started to shake violently, like someone was trying to force their way in. Her kids woke up terrified. My auntie tried to protect them, not knowing what was outside. But then it only got worse. Pictures started flying off the walls, glass shattered everywhere. Something was now inside, but no one could explain what it was. My auntie started yelling and swearing at it. The entire house woke up. At the same time, my grandpa was in New Zealand. He had no idea what was happening in Samour, but he started to experience things too. He said a woman would wake him up in the middle of the night trying to suffocate him and trying to break his neck. He was terrified, so he went to a witch doctor. While my grandpa was there trying to figure out what was going on, something even more terrifying happened back in Samour. My grandma was still in the hospital and family were visiting her, staying close to her because of what she said had been happening. Makes sense. My little nephew was there too. Then suddenly he had vanished. No one saw him leave. No one saw where he went. 1 minute he was there, the next he was gone. My whole family started searching the hospital. Even security got involved. They checked everywhere, hallways, bathrooms, but there was no sign of him. Everyone ended up leaving my grandma alone while they searched hours, and so much time went by, and then finally a nurse found him. He was in a closed room lying on a hospital bed sleeping. The strange part, the room wasn't even open. There was no way he could have got into that room by himself. There was relief, but it didn't last long because one of my aunties felt something wasn't quite right. She told everyone they needed to go check on Grandma immediately. When we all got back to her room, my grandma was suffocating. She couldn't breathe. She was gasping for air. A nurse rushed in. She didn't use any machines. Instead, she used 2 fingers, placed them on my grandma's chest, and slowly turned her hands. And just like that, my grandma took a deep breath, like something had just let go of her. Now, at the same time, my grandpa finally got his answer. The witch doctor told him that the spirit was not random. It was my uncle's ex-wife. She had passed away, but she hadn't moved on. And it was clear she was only targeting certain family members. The witch doctor said the only way to stop it was to go to her grave, apologize, and ask for forgiveness. Because the spirit believed she had been replaced by the uncle's new wife and her children. The spirit even thought that her own kids were being pushed out, but the truth was, they were growing old and living their own lives now. To this day, my family still talks about what happened, how everything happened at the same time in different places to different people, and no one can explain how.
This girl emailed me saying that there was something inside of her house that was mimicking her and her family that she thinks was trying to trade places with her. So we're going to call this girl Sammy for the story. Sammy said that she's never really told anyone this story because it sounds so ridiculous, but it's something that happened to her a few years ago in her house that still haunts her to this day. So her mom is a nurse, and so her mom would sometimes pick up random shifts at night. And so on this night, her and her sister were just home alone. Her sister's name, we're going to call her Cindy. So her mom goes to work, and a little bit later, Sammy is in her room and she's just chilling on her phone. She's kind of watching TV at the same time, and her sister Cindy had already gone to bed. Around 11ish, she hears the front door open downstairs. And when you live somewhere for long enough, you kind of just know the sound of the front door opening, right? It sounded exactly like that, the latch and the little creak that it always made. So she just assumes that her mom had gotten home early, and she was right, because a couple seconds later, she hears her mom go, "Sammy." Just normal, the way she always said it. So that's when Sammy shouts back, "Yeah," but her mom doesn't say anything back. So she waits for a couple of seconds to see if she's going to say anything back, and she doesn't. So she assumes that she just goes into the kitchen, and then bzzz, her phone goes off. So she picks up her phone, she looks at the text message, and it's a text from her mom. So she opens up the text, kind of wondering why her mom is texting her while she's down in the kitchen. And it says, "I'm running late. I won't be home for an hour." And Sammy's stomach just dropped. She knows that she heard that front door open, and she knows that she heard that voice. So because Sammy was just born differently, she decides that she's gonna get up and she's gonna go see if her mom is downstairs. So she gets up and she goes to the top of the stairs to look down, and the whole downstairs is pitch black. So Sammy's just standing there horrified when Cindy comes out of her room, and she looks half asleep, and she's like, "Did mom just tell us to come downstairs?" And that's when Sammy just kind of looks at her and goes, "No, she's not home yet." So Cindy just stares at her for a second. She's just standing there when she finally says, then who called my name? Well, interestingly enough, they both decide that they're just going to laugh this off because they didn't really know what else to do. But Cindy decides to go into Sammy's room with her, and they're just going to watch TV. About 5 minutes pass when they start to hear something. Someone is moving around downstairs. Actual footsteps. Not loud, but definitely someone walking around in the kitchen. So they both just stop talking and listen. And then a couple seconds later, a voice comes from the bottom of the stairs in their mother's voice, and it says, "Girls." Sammy said that something about this voice was off. She doesn't really know how to explain it. It sounded right, but then also off. And I hear this a lot when I get these stories. And that's when she hears it. "Sammy," but in her own voice. Exactly like her voice. Same tone, same everything. And they just sat there completely quiet. Neither one of them moved a muscle. And they hear, "Don't, don't, don't." Slowly footsteps coming up the staircase, and they stop right outside of Sammy's door. Then they just hear someone knocked 3 times on Sammy's door. Then, "Sammy, open the door." This time in her mom's voice. Sammy doesn't say anything. About a minute passes, and they hear the actual front door downstairs open. And that's when they hear from downstairs, "Girls, I'm home." And that thing outside of the door just stopped moving, completely silent. Then they heard footsteps walking down their hallway away from their room, but they did not go downstairs. They went toward the attic hatch at the end of the hallway. They end up telling their mom, and their mom checks the entire house. And she's like, "Listen, I checked everywhere. Nothing is here." Well, later that night, they're all sitting in the living room, and they're just watching TV when they hear something coming from the ceiling above them. "Sammy," in her mom's voice. Quiet, but clear. For a long time, nothing like that happened again. And so they all just kind of convinced themselves that it was their minds playing tricks on them. But something happened a few months ago that brought this all back. So one night, it's around 1 a.m. and she's just laying in bed and she's just scrolling on her phone, and her door is open and the hall light is on. Cindy's room is right across from hers, and she hears Cindy's door open, and then she sees Cindy's shadow pass by her door. She assumed that she was going to the bathroom or going to get a drink or something, but she thought it was kind of weird because the way that Cindy was walking was super slow. She was walking very slowly past her door. Now, she just saw her out of the corner of her eye, but it definitely looked like her. Same height, same long hair. So she goes, "Cindy?" She didn't answer. She just keeps walking down the hallway. So she assumes that maybe she has headphones in or something, so she decides that she's going to get up and follow her. But when she walks out into the hallway, nobody is there. Completely empty. She even checked the bathroom thinking that maybe she went in there and she just didn't see her, but the light was off and nobody was in there. That's when she started to feel that same weird feeling that she felt before. So she goes over to Cindy's door and she slowly pushes it open. She's in her bed, completely asleep, under her covers. And her phone was just sitting on the table next to her. Now at this point, she's just kind of standing there for a second looking at her because she's trying to think if her brain just imagined her walking down the hallway. Then Cindy moves slightly in her sleep and she mumbles something. And then from somewhere above the hallway, she hears quiet footsteps as if something is shifting their weight. It was right above the attic hatch. She said that she did not sleep well that night. Sammy doesn't live there anymore, but she says that every once in a while she'll stay there and she'll hear quiet footsteps on the landing, or she'll hear someone quietly say her name. When she moved out, she did a bunch of research on the house and the occurrences that she was having because she was clearly confused about why this was happening, and she also wanted to know why it was targeting her. The only answer that the deep wormhole of Google gave her was that it was a mimic. It possibly wanted to trade places with her, and she said that even saying that makes her eyes water. She says that now whenever she visits her mom and Cindy, that she's always drawn to the upstairs, but fear throws reality at her real quick, which she supposes is quite fortunate. There come a time now where she does no longer spend the night there. Whenever she has to watch her sister, she now comes to her house. She said that one final strange thing is that her dog is a fluffy brown border collie that loves everyone. But whenever she has her sister over at her house, he'll bark, cower, and growl, like almost like he knows the darkness that she's living in, she said. So what did you guys think of that story? It always freaks me out so much when I get these stories about mimics and they change voices. And especially when they change into your own voice. Imagine hearing your own voice say something to you from the other side of the door. Oh my gosh. And like telling you to open the door. It's all too much. I seriously and genuinely do not know what I would do. I've never experienced a mimic myself, but as you guys know, if you watch my stories, like all of them, you know that my mom has one, or she has some type of doppelganger or something, because both my stepdad and father have seen her, like physically seen her with their eyes, and they didn't ever meet. I don't even think they ever met each other. Maybe once or twice they did, but they certainly never talked about those two things, and my mom didn't tell either of them the stories. So, and they were both genuinely terrified, my mom said, when these occurrences happened. So I know that this can be so terrifying. I just don't know firsthand, and I cannot imagine experiencing this. So tell me what you guys think of the story. What do you think it is? Do you think it was trying to trade places with her? That's a new one. I haven't heard that before. And do you think it was in fact a mimic? And also, what do you think the scariest part of the story was? I would like to know that as well. So drop all your thoughts, opinions, and suggestions down below in the comments. But as always, be respectful.
Axe in hand, the vibe is set, and once I start, don't eat too much because you gotta stay fine. But come on, bestie, yeah. I know it sounds a little echoey in here, but that's only because I'm in my new apartment. I don't really have a chair yet, so I'm just like sitting here. Actually, I might have to stand. But hey, bestie, I missed you. Wanna go get your snack? You wanna go get your, yeah, okay. I look a mess, but that's because I've kind of been neglecting myself and I've been worried about my new baby. Though, we're gonna get back to normal as soon as priorities are done. But on a serious note, before I tell the story, I know, I just want to say I love you. I know I say that a lot, but I really do. And if it wasn't because of you guys, a lot of the stuff that I'm achieving right now, I wouldn't be able to. And I'm so grateful for you guys. And I can't wait to like make y'all rich with me. I don't know. Okay, I'm gonna get to the story. So for the sake of the story, let's call this guy Sam. So Sam's story is actually pretty freaking interesting. So Sam is Haitian, right? But he didn't know he was Haitian because he's adopted. Now, he knows he's adopted, but he didn't find out like his ethnicity till he got older. We're gonna get to that. So basically, Sam's parents were involved in a fire. Now, Sam's parents were the only family that was living in the US because they had just come over and all the rest of his family was in Haiti. So when Sam's parents ended up passing away in the fire, Sam went into the system and eventually he got adopted. For as long as Sam can remember, there is another him. By that I mean, he's in his dreams. Sometimes, like when he was a kid, he was playing, the other him would come and play with him. This was something that like he was used to, especially on his birthdays. His other one and him would spend like the entire day together. I think parents always like chalked it up to like imaginary friends or something. However, Sam is now 19 years old and it's still happening to the point where they actually like have built a connection. So where like if someone else pisses Sam off in this world, the other Sam could really like do something to them. Boom, Sam gets older, Sam takes the ancestry test. On taking the ancestry test, he finds out he has an aunt living in Florida. And so they connected and the aunt was so happy to connect with him because the aunt was in Haiti at the time of the fire and everything happened. By the time she came, he was already in the system and she had been looking for him. So he's really excited about that. He gets on the phone with her. She's Haitian. He found out he's Haitian. He's so happy. He loves Haitians. Until as they're on the phone, she says to him, "What about your brother? Where's your brother?" He's like, "Brother? What do you mean, brother?" The aunt was like, "You guys were twins. Parents had two of you. You guys were twins." And it was at that moment, everything clicked. And so unfortunately, he had to tell the aunt, first of all, he didn't even know he had a brother until now. And that explains the imaginary friend. It was his twin brother whole time. According to the auntie, they looked identical when they were babies. Turns out, obviously, the brother didn't survive in the fire. Sam is the only one that did. He has now reconnected with his family, though. Thank God. He is going on a trip to Haiti next summer. Well, this summer. He's very excited, and he's asking for advice in the comments, specifically from Haitians, but anybody can give advice, you know? Oh my gosh, you guys missed the sale. I had a sale on the ebook. It was $10. We did it for 3 hours. I was on live. It was so fun. We gave free ebook giveaways. There was some people in the comment that bought extra books, and we gave away some books while we was on live. It was really, really fun. All the people that weren't able to afford it before were finally able to get one. If you missed it, I don't know what to tell you. But if you were on the live, let them know how it was. I'm not doing another sale like that for a very long time. I'm gonna be honest. Yeah, don't forget to go get yours. Okay, I love you. Bye.
Want to get creeped out? One of the most rattling paranormal stories ever. Jess and I talked about it on our podcast, Just a Little Stitious, and I want to share a little bit of that with you. It's rattling. I'm excited. You're not going to like it. I'm going to call her Jen. Her oldest son at the time had just turned 3. The story's involving children. Is that why you said I hate it? It's really creepy. I also just want to say, I'm really sorry that this happened to you. She doesn't know if this is a coincidence or not, but she had just received this doll from her aunt that had been passed down through generations of her family, and everyone hated it and thought it was haunted. Her son, who was 3, he loved it. He would play with it, but this is when it started, is when they did get the doll. Up until this point, he had been a really amazing sleeper, to the point where she would say, it's time for bed. He would go into bed himself, put himself to sleep. One night, he had a terrible nightmare and was screaming and crying. So she goes and puts him to bed, and she's laying down with him in his room, and she's like, it's okay. I'm going to lay with you. I'll be with you tonight. You don't have to be scared. And the whole time that she was laying with him, he kept looking over into a corner of the room, and she goes to turn her head to look at the corner. He stops her, puts his hands on her face, and says, like, don't look, mommy. Its face is really scary. So she decides, you know what? Let's go to bed in my room. She brings him into her room, but he's still not settling down. She's trying to comfort him. You're safe. It's okay. And he's like, I know, but now he's staring at me from over there. Points to a different part of a corner in her bedroom. This went on for nearly a year. Every night, this kid is having like terrifying nightmares. It gets to the point where he will absolutely not sleep in his room, but he won't even go in his room during the day. Every night, he's telling them in vivid detail he's seeing something crawl out of his closet. Crawl? Mm-hmm. And then stand by his window, which is next to his bed. God, I hate that so much. This thing just stares at him. Everyone in the house was exhausted. No one was sleeping. At some point during this, she realizes that she has holy water left over from his baptism. And she's like, we've got nothing to lose. Like, why not try and use the holy water?
Don't look at my lips, look at my eyes. Look at my eyes. Someone did an amarre on this girl through potato chips to make her fall in love. An amarre is when someone does witchcraft to make you fall in love with them. My big back ass would actually eat the fucking potato chips, because what the fuck? Wait, what kind of potato chips though? I feel like forcing somebody to love you is crazy, especially knowing that they don't and you're doing witchcraft to make them love you. What? No, fuck that. Instead of an amarre, force me to go to the gym, you know? So this happened in 2010, and it was around Christmas time, and the girl who's telling us this story says that she would always get really busy around this time because she would make piñatas, or she would make things for like parties and obviously go in the street and sell them. At the time, she had made some piñatas for posadas, and whenever she would sell them, she would see that her neighbor at the front would always look at her really weird. She would try to ignore him, but it was inevitable that they would bump into each other, and every time they did, he would always say hi, and she didn't want to be rude, so she would always say hi back to him. Remember, she is saying this and not me, okay? She said that he was really short, he was really skinny, and that his teeth were black, and that he was really ugly. Apparently, he still lived with his mom, and he didn't have a wife or kids. She explains that the guy's mom was well known for having many partners, and that a lot of the times these partners would end up passing away under weird circumstances. And the rumors were that she would do brujeria on all of these men. So one day, she was in the front yard of her house where she was making these piñatas, and the guy came up to her and asked her for prices because he wanted to buy 2 piñatas from her. He had a bag of sabritas opened and offered her some, and let me show you what sabritas are. I would have fallen. She accepted and ate 3 of the sabritas without even thinking about it. Yeah, same, me too. I would have done it. What the fuck? So he ended up buying the 2 piñatas. He ended up buying the 2 piñatas, paid, and left. That same night, when she was about to go to sleep, turned the lights off, she started hearing people calling her name to the point where she had to turn the lights on because she was really scared, and she would refuse to sleep with the lights off. That was a really bad night for her. She said that she got up in the morning, she went to work, and he came over, and something in her changed. She felt that she was attracted to him. She thought that he was really handsome, and now she was the one who was going around looking for him. Within days, her own mother noticed that there was something definitely wrong with her. Her mom noticed that she was talking about him a lot, like she liked him, and she was really distracted, and this was not like her. It got to the point where, you know, during the evening, she would have this feeling that she needed to find him, she needed to be next to him, she needed him there with her. She couldn't sleep at night. She would wait until morning time because she wanted to exit her house to go and see him. Now, her mom had gotten in contact with a witch that already helped one of the aunties and basically took her to that witch. When they got to this witch's house, they didn't tell the witch anything. They didn't explain what was happening, and immediately this witch said that guy's name, first and last name, out loud. The witch tells her that apparently the guy had given her some potato chips to eat, and she's like, oh yeah, this guy had his own clipped toenails, mashed them up like if they were seasoning with other things, and put them in the potato chips. So the witch is like, I can fix this, but do you want to return to sender? Do you want to send whatever the bad was that he sent to you back to him? And they decided not to. They weren't into doing stuff like that. They just wanted him to leave her alone completely. From then on, anytime that she would see him, he would actually ignore her. If she was walking and he was coming the same way, he would turn the corner and walk away from her. Now, this ending was so unexpected because apparently 3 months after this happened, somebody had ended the guy's life with rocks. Like, he was found and he had been pummeled with a whole bunch of rocks. They never found out who ended up ending his life, but now she just tells this story as a warning because at the beginning she really didn't necessarily believe that this could happen until it happened to her. Whew. But what do you guys think?
Story time about the horrifying thing that a family found buried underneath their daughter's window and all of the scary things that happened right after. This story was sent to me by someone who wants to remain anonymous, but they swear that this happened back in the 90s. They grew up in a small border town right next to a reservation. The whole community were extremely close. They were all kind of like family. He had a best friend named Leland who had a sister named Tina who was extremely popular in school. Tina was beautiful and she got the attention of a lot of people. One day, a guy asked her to prom and she ended up rejecting him. Tina says that the guy that she rejected did not take it so well. Not long after that, things in the home started to go wrong. At first, it started with small things like the car would break down or there would be a lot of arguments in the home. The family also started having money issues. Tina's dad ended up losing his job and her parents were fighting constantly. Then one night, things escalated when Tina's mom came home and said that she swore she saw a shadow of a man standing right outside Tina's bedroom window. This erupted into a huge argument in the family, and that night, Tina's dad ended up taking his life. After that, nothing in the home felt normal anymore. Every time you walk in there, the air felt thick. You would get goosebumps. Tina completely changed altogether. She stopped going out. She stopped hanging out with her friends. She would just spend hours locked away in her bedroom. It was like whatever happened the night her dad took her life completely changed her and the home. But the scariest part didn't happen until someone decided to check what was buried underneath Tina's bedroom window. I'm gonna have to do a part 2. Story time about the family that found something buried underneath their daughter's window and the havoc that it wreaked in their home. So things just progressively kept getting worse in the home until one day Tina's uncle came over. From the moment he walked into the home, he felt like something was off, like there was something very wrong about that house. He said that the home felt sick and that it needed to be cleansed. They ended up driving hours away over to a medicine man. When they brought the medicine man back to the house, the first thing he did was walk straight towards Tina's bedroom window. He told them to dig. When they dug, they found a pouch. When they opened the pouch, they found a photo of Tina. There was also like wrapped hair in there with a strange powder and some herbs. Then they found a second pouch that had a photo of Tina's father wrapped around a bone. This medicine man told them that this wasn't random. Someone had done this on purpose, and it was someone that was close with the family. Whatever this was meant to destroy the family. Medicine man ended up taking everything with him and said that a full ceremony needed to be performed in order for this to stop. Because at this point, Tina was having nightmares about a man that she didn't recognize that would just stalk her dreams and just stand there and watch, just waiting. But what ended up happening during the ceremony is something that the person who sent me the story says that they will never forget. I'm going to do a part 3, which will be the last one. Part 3 of the family that found something buried underneath their daughter's window. This is where things get a bit disturbing, so there's going to be some trigger warnings. During the ceremony, no one was allowed inside, only Tina, her mom, and the medicine man. Everyone had to stay outside by the fire. At one point, they were blindfolded and handed a metal ammo can. They were told, do not open it, do not put it down, and when something comes to take it, do not look at it. At first, nothing happened, then they heard footsteps, heavy, slow, getting closer. They said it sounded too big to be a person. Then they heard breathing like an animal, but deeper. Hot air hitting their faces. Then the can started moving in their hands like something inside of it was alive. And then something grabbed it. They said when they brushed against their fingers, it was ice cold. Whatever it was took the can and walked away into the darkness. When it was over, they were told that wasn't human. That was something that was sent to take the curse away. Later, Tina finally admitted something. She knew exactly who did it, the same guy she rejected for prom. She said that he had been visiting her in her dreams, watching her, waiting for everything in her life to fall apart. People can be so evil, and I feel like that's like a psychotic mental issue that you're gonna go after a whole family just because a girl turned you down to prom. Like, seriously?
I got a freaky story for you, and I'm interested to see what you think. The man telling the story says that this happened over 40 years ago, and at the time, he was living with his father, who was a single dad. He also mentioned that his grandma lived about 3 miles down the road. He says that he would stay with his grandma a lot overnight. So on one occasion, he had slept over at grandma's, woke up the next morning, and she had fixed them some breakfast. He said, so far, nothing out of the ordinary. And then he went back into the bedroom to grab his Game Boy. He was about 7 or 8 at the time. So anyway, he goes in to grab the Game Boy, and the next thing he knows, he's waking up in his own bedroom at his dad's house. So he's kind of distraught because he could have sworn he was at his grandmother's house. And he said if it was a dream, it was way too real. He said still to this day, it was real. So he goes into the living room and he sees that his dad is on the phone. And then he hears his dad say, I swear, Mama, he did not spend the night with you. So after a little while, he gets off the phone and he says to his son, your grandma said that she could have sworn you slept over at her house last night and that you must have run off after breakfast. And then he even ends it with, I guess she was dreaming. So little boy and grandma both remember the sleepover that definitely happened. So then what in the heck occurred to make him wake up in his own home? I gotta know your thoughts. Let me know in the comments. And if you have a creepy story of your own, you gotta tell me about it. And if you're new here, definitely follow for more creepy story time. This story that I came across is very weird, but also amazing. I honestly don't know how to categorize this, so I'm gonna need your help at the end. So this woman tells this story from when she was a teenager. She said that at the time, she was in a very neglectful household, and she would lay there in her bed wishing to just be out of this life. She said she didn't really want to die. She just wanted to not be in this specific life, not suffering the way that she was. Just some way, somehow, she wanted to be saved. In addition to her home life, she was in a minority group, and she said that she was very discriminated against. Every aspect of her life felt hostile, and she didn't think she was capable of enduring much more. So one evening, an intense calm rushed over her, and she said that she experienced something unexplainable and supernatural. She also said that her stepfather was an atheist and he witnessed this and was very spooked by it. Essentially, just as she was drifting off to sleep, extraordinarily loud singing started sort of coming out of nowhere inside her bedroom. She wasn't sure where it was coming from, but for some reason, she was just so calm that she fell asleep and slept through it. So early the next morning, her stepfather comes into her bedroom to tell her to turn this music off. But when he gets inside, it's not coming from the CD player. He also has no idea where it's coming from. So he freaks out and just sort of scurries out of the room. So once everybody wakes up and the family is down eating breakfast, her stepfather asks her about it. And she also agrees that she heard this singing, but has no idea where it came from. And he closed up and got real weird, and he refused to talk about it after that. But listen to this. After this occurrence, she had a huge personality shift. She was given a huge boost of vitality and clarity and purpose. She said her cognitive abilities also manifested around this time, and she was like night and day. She went from not being able to do basic multiplication or read a clock to being considered gifted. She says over the years, anytime she comes across a hardship, she always comes out of it more resilient than before. She has gone on to live a very successful life. How about that? What do you guys think? Could it be possible that she popped into another timeline, or was this just a divine gift given to her from above. All right, let me know in the comments. And if you have your own creepy or amazing story similar to this that you want to share, I am all ears. And if you're new here, you got to follow for more creepy story time.
If you're planning to be a parent in the future, well, let me tell you that you might want to think twice about it, because I swear to God, if this happened to me, I'm leaving the whole damn family. This whole thing started when a father of a newborn baby noticed that something was wrong with the baby monitor. If you don't know what this thing is, I'm saying this because I didn't know what it was before I did some research. A baby monitor is basically these devices where you can actually hear and see the baby, and you can place them, in the baby's room so you can actually check on him. Back in the day, I didn't have this shit. When I was a baby, they taught me to cry until I'm tired of crying, and then I go back to normal. Am I jealous? Yes. Anyways, back to the story. But the father who was recording the video was confused because the baby monitor, especially the hearing device, was making noises. Okay, bro, isn't that supposed to be normal? I mean, it's the baby making a noise, right? No, the problem is nobody is in that room. As you can see, he showed the room and nobody's actually there. The baby is with his mother and they were somewhere else. While he was showing that nobody was in that room, this time the hearing device made a new sound. A completely different one. This time was not knocking, it was a loud sound. Now you might be like, okay, bro, the father is definitely tripping. This thing is lagging. That's a bug. It happens with, hearing devices way too often. Okay, I agree with you. The problem is the father precised that this thing only happens one time per day. And it happens, according to him, at 4 p.m. Yes, he's basically saying that this thing works normally all day until the clock hits 4 p.m. when it starts acting different. Alright, bro, now the father is definitely smoking again. How did he know that at this precise time, this precise hour, something's gonna happen? Like at 4 p.m., things do not function like this. It's not a meeting, bro. Technically it is, kind of. Alright, what do you mean? What I mean is the hearing device was not the only thing with a problem, because when he decided to show the room again, well, the door opened by itself.
Alright, check this out. There's this noise coming from the bedroom. But my wife and my baby, they're not here. They're not in the bedroom. And this noise happens every day at this exact time. Yeah, there's no one in there. No one.
Say dada.
Fast food workers have a lot of creepy experiences. Now, there was this woman named Katie. Katie worked at a fast food joint, and she would often work third shift from 10 p.m. until 8 the next morning. And it would always be her working drive-thru with her coworker Mike, who'd work the grill. And she said one night she was working, it was about midnight, and Mike started to feel sick. So she tells Mike, it's been kind of a slow night. Like, you seem really sick. Go home, get some sleep. I can handle this. So Mike says, are you sure? And she says, yeah, I can get this. So Mike gets in his car and he leaves. And now she's there alone. For about an hour, no one comes through the drive-thru. But then all of a sudden, she hears the drive-thru thing alert her that someone is there. But when she goes over to the screen where she can see the camera, there is no one there. But the headset turns on by itself. And that's when she starts hearing someone talking to her. But she's looking at the camera and she can see absolutely no one is out there. And she hears this voice that sounds eerily familiar. It is her voice. And her voice is telling her to come outside of the restaurant, that they want to show them something. And she goes, no, I cannot come out, like I'm working, like I cannot leave the building. And over again, they keep telling her, come out of the restaurant, come out of the restaurant. But she doesn't see anyone in the camera. And she is like, who is this? Like, am I someone messing with me? So she finally takes the headset off and starts like just walking around. It's like, okay, I need to just clear my head. Like, maybe I'm just imagining this. So then she puts the headset back on. She says, hello, are you still there? But it's not. There is no one there. And as she looks at the camera again, there was no one out front. So she goes back to the front of this restaurant and she starts preparing some fries. As she's making a fresh batch of fries, she got this feeling like she was being watched. And as she turns and she looks out the drive-thru window, she sees a girl staring at her. She's standing in the parking lot and she's looking directly at her. And she's like freaked out, who is this girl? Why is she here? Like, what is going on? She said all of a sudden this girl just kind of pointed at her and made a circle with her finger. So she goes to the back of the kitchen and she is like, what do I do? Like, is this real? Is this what's going on? So she said she went back into the front and she looks out the drive-thru window. There's no one there. So after about 15, 20 minutes, she kind of forgets about it and was like, I just must be tired. As she's in the front again working on something, she gets a feeling like she's being watched again. And when she turns, there's that girl staring at her, but she is right up against the drive-thru window. And her eyes are open wide. She has this big smile on her face. And as Katie can clearly see, she is looking at a mirrored version of herself. And she said the girl just waved by and then took off running out of the parking lot. So the next day, she tells her manager about all this. And as they roll the security cameras, they can see absolutely no one in the parking lot. And she still to this day believes she had some kind of encounter working third shift at the fast food restaurant. Like him. The most terrifying hiking trail in the United States is located in Tennessee, in the Appalachia, a place called the Norton Creek Trail. Now, the Norton Creek Trail is about an hour from Knoxville, Tennessee, and probably about 20 minutes from Gatlinburg. Now, this trail goes through the Smoky Mountain National Park, and this area has the highest concentration of old pioneer cemeteries and abandoned homesteads that you can actually visit. This area is known for ghostly apparitions, orbs, people disappearing. There is a famous story about a pioneer settler who went looking for his missing daughter on this trail and actually was found unalived. Now, the creepiest legend, though, in this area is that of Spearfinger. Now, Spearfinger is this old Cherokee legend that there is this witch who they described as being sometimes 40 feet tall, having skin like rocks, and this long, sharp finger that is shaped like a spear. And the creepy thing about Spearfinger is that she could shapeshift. She could be anyone, your auntie, your cousin, your best friend. And she could be walking right behind you. You turn around and she sticks her long spear finger into your back, rips out your liver, and eats it. Now, this story comes from this same general area. There was this woman who said when she was a young girl, her and her brothers and sisters, they lived in this small shack in the Appalachian Mountains. And she said, they were very poor. So this house was, not that big. They all shared a bedroom. And they said their father had to leave them alone for a couple days. So their auntie came to stay with them. So they said, one night they're hanging out with their auntie and they're joking, they're having a good time, when all of a sudden they said the air just got stale and they could feel almost like a cold breeze blowing into the house. And they said the dogs started to freak out and bark and go crazy like someone was outside. So the auntie got really, really nervous and really scared. She takes the kids and they all go up into this attic where the father had made kind of like a safe area for them to hide if anything were to ever happen. So they're all sitting up in the attic, and there's, this tiny little hole that they can see down into, the downstairs. And they said all of a sudden the door opened up, and they said in walked this little old lady. And they said she just kind of, was touching everything around their house. And she said all of a sudden this old woman started saying, "Come out, children, come out. I got something for you. Come down here. I want to tell you a story." And she started, acting like she was this concerning old woman who wanted to give the kids, stories and candy. And so the kids started to say to the auntie, like, "Can we go down there? Can we see her? Can we see her?" And she's, quiet, just be quiet. And the more they resisted, the more this woman was like, "Come down here, kids, come down here. I got something for you. Like, I have some toys." And, they're like, "Oh my goodness, we don't have no toys. Like, we should go down there. We should go down there." And the auntie's like, no, fighting with them, saying like, "You have to stay up here in the attic." And so they said all of a sudden, the woman kind of disappeared out of sight. And as they're looking down this little hole, they said the next thing they knew, a finger popped up through the hole and started, moving around. And she said the auntie and the kids are all scared because they're seeing like this finger just coming up through the hole. And they said the finger started to grow and grow, and it became almost like this long, sharp spear. And they said it started to move around the attic, and they had to like avoid it because it was almost hitting them. And the auntie just started saying these prayers like over and over again. And they said all of a sudden it was like, boom, like they had woken up from a dream. This old woman was gone. The air seemed normal. And so the auntie brings them down from the attic. And she said the next day when her auntie went outside, all of their animals that they had out there were like mutilated, torn apart. And she said to this day, she is afraid to go out in the woods in this area.
Want to get creeped out? Have you ever heard of the Tallman bunk beds? This is a piece of furniture that a regular working class family brought into their home. It was used, and from bringing that into their home, they wound up experiencing an extreme haunting. Their children were terrorized by really creepy apparitions. The parents at first weren't believing their children. They thought it was just their imagination until the parents started to experience the haunting themselves. This family saw terrifying figures with red glowing eyes standing in their basement, looking at them from outside their window, heard disembodied voices, had either hallucinations or really weird things that they saw that didn't make sense. For instance, the father saw his garage on fire one night after coming home late from work, ran into his house because he was terrified. He had also just heard some disembodied voices. He was really unsettled. So he runs into his house. He's freaked out. He sets his lunch pail on the floor. He decides, I gotta go make sure my garage isn't on fire. He goes, there's no glow, there's no fire. His garage is perfectly fine, perfectly normal. Goes back into his house, goes to grab his lunch pail, and it literally is thrown across the room by an invisible force. This haunting is so creepy because it was so extreme. And not only that, but the Tallmans, the family, they refused to profit off of the story. They were on an episode of Unsolved Mysteries. Their faces were completely blurred, and they didn't want to talk about the story afterwards. They actually wound up moving from the city they lived in because locals had recognized them on Unsolved Mysteries, even though their faces were blurred. I highly suggest listening to the full story on this one. Jess and I have a podcast episode coming out where we do a deep dive on it, and honestly, it kept me up at night. This is everybody's warning. I'm going to be showing photos of these haunted and cursed objects. Some people don't want to look at them, so I will tell you, hey, a picture is going up. You can close your eyes for about 5 seconds if you don't want to look at it.
I don't want to look at them either, but I have to.
Yeah, I was going to say you don't have a choice. You will be looking, so This is the Anguished Man painting, Jess.
Gross. Why does his mouth look like an egg? Probably shouldn't be making fun of it. Never mind.
The upcoming warning was not delivered to Jess until later in the episode. You will see her reaction to this in a later scene.
Some people say you can be cursed by looking at this painting too. BT'd ups. I already saw it. I'm showing the picture. Here it is. And anyone who's not looking at it, it is a man. He kind of looks like he's screaming.
His mouth is in the shape of an egg.
And it's done with really harsh brush strokes. So this painting belongs to a man named Sean Robinson. He claimed to have inherited it from his grandmother, who kept it in her attic. She told him the painting is evil. She reportedly was gifted the painting by a friend.
That's not a friend. That lady wanted to see that woman suffer.
That lady hated you.
That was not a friend.
She said that she saw a ghostly figure in her home. She attributed it to the painting. She also said that she would hear strange noises coming from the painting and the sound of a man crying. Like I said, Sean inherited this picture, this painting, from his grandmother. As soon as he brought it into his home, paranormal activity started immediately. He began to experience whispers and screaming at night and the sound of a man crying. He and his wife both saw a shadow figure in their home and even began seeing a shadow figure standing at the foot of their bed at night.
Here is Jess's reaction to being warned about the painting in real time.
Some people say that even looking at the painting can curse you.
Seriously, Megan? Megan, come on, man.
Sorry.
You should have said that before you showed everybody. Every single person who did not close their eyes just had the same reaction that I just had. They're like, fuck you.
I'm going to put this in earlier.
No. No.
Yes. Some people say you can be cursed by looking at this painting too. BT'd ups. I already saw it. So anyway.
I've seen spots. Like, I swear to God.
I think it's from the ring light.
I don't know.
But some people have reported feeling dizzy or watched from looking at it. Some paranormal YouTubers and TikTokers have also tried to summon the spirit of the painting while viewing it. See, this is what's interesting. I showed it to you and I feel like you didn't have much of a reaction other than saying his mouth looked like an egg.
You know what? I am so upset with you.
You always are. It's fine. But when I looked at it for the first time, I felt super uncomfy. When I looked at that painting for the first time, I felt a visceral reaction. I felt uncomfortable. I felt something in my stomach. I was like, something is wrong with this.
This girl put her menses in her boyfriend's food. But this story didn't happen to Ella. It happened to her cousin. We're gonna call her Alana. And before we get into the story, Alana is not the same anymore. So according to Ella, Alana was never the desperate type. But when she met, we're gonna call him Marcus, something in her shifted. And Ella said Marcus wasn't special, if she's being honest. Charming, yeah, but he was inconsistent. It just seemed to have an on and off type of relationship. He would love on her really hard one week and then just disappear the next. And that's exactly how the relationship was going. And after 6 months of this situationship nonsense, he ghosted her. No explanation, just gone. Alana tried to reach out to him, but he never responded. So at this point, about 2 weeks go by and Alana is really starting to miss Marcus. And Alana said that this was the last time she was going to put up with this. Little did anybody know what Alana was implying by that. Everybody just kind of thought that she was done with his inconsistency. But she was confident that he would come back. Like she predicted, about a month later, Marcus hits her with the "hey big head." And that was the moment that Alana was waiting for. He basically told Alana like, "I miss you, can I come over?" Alana tells him, "I'm gonna cook you a nice meal and then we're gonna talk about everything." Marcus agrees, he's on his way, but Alana was quite literally cooking something. Alana knew that this time when he came back, all she had to do was cook for him. Spaghetti specifically. Please don't try this at home, but the instructions go as follows. Cook the sauce from scratch. You add your minces to it while it's hot. You're supposed to stir clockwise, thinking about him nonstop. She was saying his name with every stir. But the most crucial part of this is that he has to eat it willingly, and he has to finish it. Like every bite. So Marcus get to the crib smell good, like shorty been cooking, he about to get down. So Marcus comes inside and they're greeting each other like really nothing happened, laughing and touching like he never left. Basically Alana's asking him like, "Are you hungry?" And he was hungry, so she fixed him a plate, served him the food, and he devoured it, every last bite. Alana's side of the family does hoodoo, so she knew what she was doing. Well, some time passes, and that man became obsessed with Alana. Ooh, he loved her. He wanted to spend a lot of time with her, almost every second of every day. He would stare at her, watch her sleep, declare his undying love for her. Marcus moves in with her. They elope. Now they're married. And Marcus was so obsessed with Alana, even though they were married, she couldn't even go anywhere without him. And at first, that jealousy was cute, until it wasn't. Like, it got really bad. She couldn't go to the bathroom without him thinking it was probably the next man in the bathroom. He would literally follow her everywhere, like in fear that she would cheat on him. It was just like this irrational fear that just kept escalating. Somewhere in that journey, the love kind of turned into something else. Because one day out of nowhere, Marcus started to hate Alana. Like, he hated that girl. From love to jealousy to hate, that man became violent to Alana. If you want the details, I know you guys hate part 2s, but you're gonna have to leave a comment for part 2. But whatever you do, don't feed that man voodoo spaghetti.
Hey guys, it is time for another spooky story. I am Autumn in Appalachia. Send me your spooky stories, add me on Facebook, and subscribe on YouTube, same handle. Without further ado, this follower did wish to remain anonymous, so for the sake of the video, let's call her Kylie. Kylie said this is a story that happened to her a few years ago. It is equally as disturbing as it is confusing for her, and she still doesn't know what to make of it. One day, it's the middle of the day, Kylie is home by herself other than her dog. She is tired, so she decides to lay down to take a nap. Now, because of the light that is coming in through the window, she pulls the covers completely up over her head, so she can't see anything in the room. Before she is even able to drift off to sleep, she feels the weight of something at the foot of the bed. Next thing she knows, she feels arms and legs crawling up her body, directly on top of her, over top of the covers. Now, when she first feels this, she thinks it's her dog, until she hears her dog across the room playing with its toy in the floor. So at this point, she knows whatever is crawling closer and closer up her body to her face, it's not her dog, definitely not anybody in the house. She said she tried as hard as she could to lay completely still, and that when it got to the point where its face was hovering over her face on the other side of this blanket, she had this just intuitive knowing that she can't acknowledge it. She's fully awake. She said this did not feel like a dream. She had just laid down. And so she laid as still as she could, trying not to breathe, to move, to turn her head, definitely not to pull the covers down and make eye contact. She quietly said a prayer a few times just in her head, and next thing she knew, it was gone. The weight is completely gone. She didn't even feel it crawl back down. It just disappeared. She has no idea what it was, but it was deeply unsettling to say the least. And I know she's not alone in her experience, because we, have shared experiences like this before on the page. You guys let me know what you think. Sounds like sleep paralysis to me, only it doesn't sound like she was even on the verge of asleep, like half asleep, half awake. So, I don't know, y'all. Stories like that in particular freak me out because I have experienced sleep paralysis myself. Oh, and there's nothing, if you've ever been through it, that is more horrifying. Y'all, stay tuned for some more spooky stories.
We moved into a normal house, but something inside it felt targeted. So I lived in an apartment for most of my life, but a few years after COVID happened, my family was able to move into an actual house in Los Angeles. For the first 2 years, everything was pretty normal, and then things started to subtly change, like our cars kept getting damaged. But it was in ways that didn't really make sense, like our windshields would get a crack, or our tires would go flat overnight, and this happened over 5 times, and every time we would take it in, they would tell us that there was no clear cause. Around the same time that was starting to happen, our dogs started to act weird too. Around midnight every night, they would start barking outside right into the dark, and nothing was ever there. And then little by little, life started to get harder. Like, my parents' business started to slow down. Money became tight. Life was just starting to become more of a struggle. It just started to feel like we were starting to have a bunch of bad luck. And I think the worst of it happened when my mom was home alone. For about a week straight, she had this overwhelming feeling that she needed to go over to the coat closet and pull out this water vacuum that we haven't used in over a year. She couldn't explain it, she just felt like she needed to go and get it out. Eventually she gave into the feeling, and that's when she saw it. Behind the vacuum was hidden a thing of yarn, and it was a bunch of different colors, and it had fur mixed into it. The part about it that made her freeze was it looked like a face, like it had two little eyes in it and it had a curved line like a frown. Attached to it were two smaller pieces, and when everybody else got home and we looked at it, we all had the same feeling immediately. It was like it was representing us. One bigger piece and then two smaller pieces attached. Now, my mom wasn't the type to really believe in this kind of a thing. She was very stable, grounded, very religious. But even she felt like it was intentional, and we don't know where it came from. They started asking around to see where it might have come from, and I mean, there's people that have been in my parents' life that have been jealous before, so it doesn't seem like it would be too far-fetched of an idea for somebody to do this on purpose. At one point, we even considered having a priest come to the house, but somebody gave us some advice. They said to take it to the river, throw it in, pray about it, and then leave without looking back. So that's what we did. For a while, things started to get a little better until one day came and a lady came and rang on our doorbell. And it was somebody that we had never seen before, and it was a lady, and she said that she had been in a fight with her husband, and she's been living out of her car, but she needed to warn us about something, and it was about our neighbors. She claimed that her husband knew things about our neighbor. He was a man, and his wife passed away, but she was saying that her husband thinks that he had something to do with his wife, with the wife passing away. After she had passed, he started to become like a jealous man, and he started to get into like witchcraft. The whole thing had felt completely random because we have barely even talked to this neighbor, but everything that we went through and things that we've seen, it didn't feel like so much of a coincidence anymore. To this day, we still have no idea what that object was or how it ended up in our house, and maybe none of it was connected, but it's hard not to wonder, what if it was?
If you're a horror fan and you play video games, this game is for you. We just finished playing Reanimal and I am not okay. Reanimal isn't just a horror game. It's a nightmare you have to survive together. You play as two siblings trapped in a twisted, decaying version of your world where nothing feels safe. And the mission is to find your missing friends. The deeper you go, the more reality begins to rot. Creatures aren't just monsters, they feel wrong, like something that used to be alive, now turned into something completely unrecognizable. What makes Reanimal so terrifying isn't cheap jump scares, it's a constant feeling of dread. The silence, the darkness, the way the environment itself feels like it's watching you. You're solving puzzles, hiding and running, but mostly you're trying to stay together in a world that's actively trying to tear you apart. And you must stay together to stay alive. This game had me feeling all sorts of emotions, but mostly fear. There was a lot of screaming going on in my house. Reanimal is truly terrifying, so much fun, and I think they'll make a second one considering the way it ended. And the ending is unexpected and absolutely insane. Please, if you are a horror fan, you have to play this game. We played it on our PlayStation 5, but you can play it on Nintendo Switch 2, and I think Xbox. If you have any horror game recommendations, drop them in the comments because I need something new to play now.
I'm back. And I wanted to talk about a few of the same comments and questions that I get about my haunted home in Japan. I have not been able to make a video the past couple of weeks. It has been busy. But let's get right into it. Let's go. Some people would ask me, what did the closet creature look like? A few of you already know, but the closet creature was white, like a white, not me white. Very, very white. Bald. It had no hair. Bald. And I had only seen like its eyes. I never saw what its mouth looked like. Thankfully. And its eyes were very black, dark, and sunken in. And it had bags. It was very creepy. And like its hands were long, and or its fingers were long and bony and wrinkly and like broken nails. Like it was fucking creepy. That's what the closet creature looked like. I never saw its body. Can't tell you what its body looked like. So there's that. No, it never tried to hurt me. No, never hurt me. I don't think it touched me. I hope not. I mean, I don't remember it touching me. Thank God for that too, right? My goodness. It would just stare at me like it was curious. It never had like a specific look on its face, but the fact that it was always watching me made me feel like whatever it was just curious. I don't know what its intentions were. It scared the hell out of me. If that's its intention, it did it. There was a time though where I got really pissed off. Like I got tired of it. I got really fucking tired of it. I remember being at my little writing desk doing homework. Writing desk, drawing desk, homework desk, whatever. This desk was an all-in-one. And as I'm writing, because I was in AP Literature in high school and freshman year, before we had moved out of the house. And I remember hearing the closet door open like a little bit, because it was on, you know, the doors, and they have like, these doors had like little wheels. I don't know if we've ever talked about that, like teeny tiny little wheels that would roll on a track. And I remember hearing like the sound, right? And I slammed down my pencil, I stood up, I went to the closet, I threw it open, and I screamed into it. I screamed into the closet because I was so fucking tired of it making sounds almost every single time that my back was turned towards it. So when I would get dressed in the morning for school or get dressed into my loungewear coming home from school, I was always facing the closet. I would never get dressed with my back towards the closet. That helped me feel like I had a little bit more control, because it would only really watch me when I wasn't paying attention to it, right? So there's that. It didn't have any weird smell. I did have an off feeling when it was watching me, like you know when something's watching you, like the air shift of like somebody watching you from behind. Like you get that sense, that feeling that happened when it was watching me. What other questions? No, I don't think it was trying to be my friend. A lot of people are sympathizing with it, like, oh, how sad, it's trying to be your friend. No, thank you. I don't need it to be my friend. I was actually more scared of the mist in the basement than the closet creature. Now, I was scared of the closet creature, of course. It's fucking terrifying. But the mist was next level, because the mist would make you feel trapped. Like when I was in the shower and it blocked out the whole light from the doorway, like, why is it standing in my only entrance and exit, right? On the staircase when it charged at me. Like this thing, the mist felt aggressive. And the air pressure would completely change when the mist was around. Like it would really start to mess, like you feel like you need to pop your ears. The mist was terrifying. I never saw my sister's ceiling crawler. I never saw it. I believe her, of course, but I never saw something crawling. Now, to be fair, I never really went to her room. Only time I went to her room was when she screamed at night and I thought something bad had happened to her. Obviously, that I went to her room and told her to come sleep in my bed. But I wasn't like hanging out in her room. I wasn't like having a sleepover at night in her room. And definitely not after she told me, like, what was it? Like a month ago, she told me about the ceiling crawler. I'm so tired. She told me about the ceiling crawler like a month ago, and I was like, well, thank God I never fucking like hung out with you, right? Like, thank God I never did a sleepover in your room. But we weren't even close like that, so that never would have happened. I never saw it, but I believe it. I completely believe it. Objects moved in the house often. You would think that you put something somewhere and it would be somewhere else. That psychologically was really hard to deal with because it would make you feel like you're losing your fucking mind. No, I don't think the closet creature was sleep paralysis. I think it was a genuine haunting of the house. What else? What other questions were there? Can I draw it? No! I'm not gonna draw it anytime soon. One day, maybe. Maybe. Some people have been posting pictures of like their interpretation of it, and that's fucking scary. Stop doing that. Y'all are jump scaring me in the comments. Maybe one day in the future, I'll draw it from memory. I would prefer not to. What else? And I think those are all the questions that I can remember. Give me a moment, be patient. Let me think. Oh. Yeah, no, wait, we covered it. My stepfather never saw it. Never saw anything, or claimed he never saw anything. Oh! One thing that we gotta talk about, friends. I'm old as shit. Okay? When I lived in Japan, there were no smartphones. Smartphones didn't exist. Okay? So no, I didn't just whip out my iPhone and start recording or taking pictures. Okay? We're talking like, this was like a long time ago. And no, our house didn't have cameras in it. That's some fucking new age weird shit. You know what I mean? We weren't like recording in our old Japanese home 24/7. Like, why would we even think to do that, right? Like, that wasn't, no, there's no pictures of it. Okay? You're just sorry. And the only person who knows the address of that home in Japan to a T, who can remember it, is my stepfather, who I no longer talk to, and I will never talk to. One day I'll try to find it on Google Maps to the best of my knowledge. But no. I think that covers everything. Thank you for watching.
Might have known the story of real life boogeyman.
It feels like I have been waiting for these 3 little bags for so long. Phi2 reached out to me, oh my god, it feels like forever ago now, and asked if they can send me a few pairs of glasses. And at the time, I had just gotten my glasses, so I was still feeling the sting, okay? If you wear glasses, you know how expensive it can be when it's time to get new ones. So when they reached out to me and asked if they could send me some, I was like, yes, absolutely, 100%. My glasses have taken a trip to the end of the earth and back though, okay? They got lost, they got sent back, they came back, they've hit every single town in Ohio except mine, but now they're here and we're gonna try them on. So with my choices, I wanted to go outside of my comfort zone, okay? Because with my glasses, I normally keep it very safe because I have to wear them every day. So I said, let's get some fun pairs. So this is the first pair. I feel like this shape is so popular on TikTok right now. And I chose the green. Although now that I'm looking at it, they look a bit more gray. But you tell me. But these are so cute. Let's see if they fit my... I don't know if they necessarily fit my face shape. What do we think? They're definitely cute and I like them. Maybe with my hair up? What do we think? The next pair... Okay, these are the pair of glasses that you get when it's your first pair. Okay, 5th grade glasses. For whatever reason, that's what I thought, but I also think they really give early 2000s. I think they're so cute. I mean, these are the most simple glasses you could probably ever get. These are cool, and I love them. Guys, I'm kind of obsessed with these. These are so cute. Last pair I got definitely weren't too out of my comfort zone. I needed one pair that I knew for sure was going to work for me, and it was these. And I knew that these were more in my comfort zone, but if all else failed, I needed something that was gonna be fine. And these are freaking, yeah, they're something that I 100% would wear. These are so, oh my god, and they're so comfortable. Stop. Also, something I want to mention is that my prescription is completely spot on. Okay, so which ones are the favorites? Okay, I personally really like the silver ones, and I think I'm gonna have to put them back on. I think they're so cool. Even though they give my first pair of glasses, I think they're cute.
If this case doesn't upset you, I don't know what will. We are going to be talking a lot about the man who did this, but I want to remind you that this story is about Mâche and about Layla, so keep them in the forefront as we continue talking. So we're going to go back all the way to 2017, November 27th of 2017 in Arkansas. Now, Kirkland Warren was driving around with a man named Curtis Ucart. He had a .22 caliber handgun with him, and Curtis was allegedly asking Kirkland for money, when eventually Kirkland shot and killed Curtis and then dumped his body. Now, Kirkland was eventually caught, but he told investigators that he was in fear of his life. But on December 12th of 2017, Kirkland was arrested in Arkansas with a connection to the murder. But then on December 13th of 2017, Kirkland posts a $250,000 bail in the homicide case and is released. Then on February 7th of 2018, criminal charges were filed against Kirkland. They were first-degree murder and abuse of a corpse. But he is out of prison, and in 2020, he is living in Vancouver, Washington. There, he is investigated for the possession of a stolen semi-automatic handgun. Officers were in contact with him, and they did take possession of the handgun. He surrendered it, and the firearm remained in evidence, but he is still out of prison. So then on March 31st of 2021, Kirkland lied on an application for a handgun. He was requesting a 9mm semi-automatic handgun, and he lied saying that he was not under indictment for a felony charge. Now remember, he is still under indictment for the felony homicide charge in Arkansas. Now, in December of 2022, Kirkland is dating Mâche Melendez, and Mâche is the mother to Layla Stewart. Now, this relationship is not great, and one night on December 13th of 2022, Mâche and Kirkland get into an argument at her apartment. Kirkland does leave the apartment, but Mâche is looking out of her balcony window, and Kirkland decides to shoot at her through the window. Now, from what I understand, she was unharmed, but then on December 23rd, Mâche calls the police to report that Kirkland has assaulted her. She then also tells police about the incident 10 days prior where he shot at her through the balcony window. Now, Mâche does have a friend who comes and corroborates her entire story. Here's where things start getting very sad. On February 17th of 2023, Mâche meets with investigators where she recants her entire story. She says that none of it was true and that her and her friend were having mental health issues and drug problems, and that is why she made the earlier statements, but they're not true. Personally, I believe that she might have been afraid of Kirkland and trying to recant because of that. Investigators also think that something is suspicious here, so on March 2nd, the Vancouver police arrest Kirkland again. Then on March 3rd, Kirkland makes his first appearance at the Clark County Superior Court, and he is there on suspicion of second-degree domestic violence, assault, drive-by shooting, making a false statement, harassment, and possession of a stolen firearm. Now, this is all of the charges that he is facing currently with everything. Now, the Clark County prosecutors did a danger assessment on him, and they found that he was an extreme risk to Mâche, saying that he scored a 31, and the scale was from 1 to 18. So that's terrifying. But on top of that, they noted that he had an active homicide case in Arkansas. So they asked that he be held on a $100,000 bail. The judge agrees and gives him the bail, and also puts in place a no contact order between Kirkland and Mâche, and I'm assuming Layla as well. But just hours after this no contact order was put into place, Kirkland calls Mâche twice, and he is telling her that she is responsible for him being in jail. He also tells her that she needs to get his charges dropped, and Mâche is saying that she is trying to get the charges to go away. But Kirkland also says that he is not going back to Arkansas. Now, later that day, he does post bail, but he is once again cited at the district court for violating the no contact order. Now, on March 6th of 2023, Kirkland once again appears in court, and this is when the prosecutor
asks that he be fitted for a GPS monitor, which I feel is very appropriate. The judge agrees, and he is given another $10,000 bail and ordered to be given a GPS tracking device. But on March 7th, the district court case where he had contacted Mâche with the no contact order, that is dismissed, but then added to the other charges. And in all of the confusion, the GPS monitor was never fitted. So then on March 8th, Kirkland is released from jail, and this is where things get even more tragic. So on March 11th, Mâche and Layla were seen with Warren. They stayed the night at a friend's apartment, and then the next morning on March 12th, they were last seen in the morning. They were leaving that apartment in his burgundy Dodge Charger. Now, while all of this is going on March 14th through the 17th, the judge from Arkansas is trying to revoke his bail based on the homicide case in Arkansas. And eventually on March 17th, a judge does revoke his bond for the 2018 murder case. But by March 18th, no one was able to get a hold of Mâche or Layla. They had Mâche's mother and her had like a standing video chat that they would do together, and Mâche's mother was not able to get in contact with them, and no friends or other family were able to as well. So this was concerning for them. So they had a welfare check done, but Mâche or Layla, they were not at her apartment. By March 19th, Mâche's mother found her daughter's car, and it was in the area where they had spent the night at the friend's house with Kirkland. Vancouver police do request and are granted a search warrant to search his car. Police do issue a missing persons bulletin after this, but then on March 20th, Kirkland appears in the Superior Court on new allegations again. This time it was tampering with a witness, second-degree unlawful possession of a firearm, and protection order violation. Mind you, he is not supposed to have contact with Mâche at all, and he is violating that multiple times, and the courts know about this. Prosecutors do ask that he is held without bail, or that his bail increases from the $100,000 to $500,000. The judge postpones the hearing that day and does not make a decision on bail, and Kirkland is held in jail. Then on March 21st, the prosecutors asked the judge to increase his bail from the $100,000 to $1 million. And if he is able to make bail, then they ask that he is given a GPS monitoring system again. The judge does agree to the $1 million bail and also the electronic monitoring. But then Vancouver police also say that he is a person of interest in Mâche and Layla's disappearance. So on March 22nd, he is in front of the judge again, and this time he does admit that he is a wanted person in Arkansas for the homicide that he is involved in there. But he refuses to waive extradition to be turned over to authorities there. This time he is held without bail on a warrant. And sadly, Mâche and Layla were found that day as well. Now, I think we all know how this is going to end already, but it would take 2 years, roughly, for him to plead guilty to the murders of Mâche and Layla. Layla was just 7 years old. He also pled guilty to the first-degree child molestation charges. This man is a monster, and he shouldn't have been out. There's no way this should not have happened, and I cannot wrap my mind around the fact that it did. Now, here's where I want to get serious and where I'm asking you guys for your support. So Layla's father reached out to me and asked that I cover this case. He, along with Mâche's mother, are filing a wrongful death lawsuit, and I hope they win, and I hope they win big. Why did this happen? Why was this man out? So the lawsuit that is filed is allege the county's probation and pretrial service department failed to follow its policies and procedures to ensure that Kirkland Warren complied with the conditions of his release. And I couldn't think of a better lawsuit. This is exactly what needs to happen. Somebody has to pay because this shouldn't have happened. I have tagged Layla's dad down in the description. Please go show him some support. He lost his baby girl. Just show him some support and some love, and just think about them during this time.
Who would want to kidnap an 84-year-old woman from her own home in the middle of the night? On the evening of January 31st, 2026, Nancy Guthrie did what she's done countless times before. She caught an Uber and rode over to her daughter Annie's house for dinner. They sat around the table together, they ate, they laughed, and when the plates were finally cleared and the night started winding down, someone suggested a game. So they played the way families do when nobody's ready to say goodnight yet. At some point, Nancy, seeing that it was getting late, decided it was time to head home, and Annie's husband, Tommaso, offered to drive her. Just a short, familiar ride back at the house she lived at for over 50 years. He put into the driveway, the garage door hummed open, and Nancy stepped in at 9:50 p.m. Tommaso sat there for a moment and watched the garage door come down slowly behind her, and then he drove away, not knowing that would be the last time anyone saw Nancy Guthrie. The neighborhood went quiet, the street went dark, and for a few hours, everything seemed normal. But at 1:47 in the morning, something showed up on Nancy's doorbell camera that had no business being there. A figure moving slowly and deliberately toward her front door, masked, gloved, armed, and he stood about 5'9" or 5'10". He had a black mustache and had an Ozark Trail hiker backpack strapped across his back. What the heck does he have in that bag? And out of all the houses this man could have chosen, why Nancy's? At some point, the man walked up to the camera with a flashlight clenched between his teeth, and with both hands raised, he pressed his palms directly over the lens, trying to knock it off the wall. But when the camera won't budge, he stepped back, looked at it for a second, and then he turned around and walked calmly to the edge of the porch. He bent down, reached into the dirt, and pulled a fistful of plants straight out of the ground, which is like, that's a first. Never have I ever seen a plant be part of a crime. He then walks back to the camera. Again, he's so calm doing all of this, and he presses the plant directly into the lens. And just like that, the camera went black. What happened in the next 40 minutes, nobody can say for certain. There were no witnesses, no footage, no account of any kind, but somewhere in that window between the moment the camera went black and 2:20 in the morning, the masked man found a way inside that house. And when he left, Nancy Guthrie went with him. The only reason we know the exact time she was taken is because of a small device sitting on her bedside table. Nancy, like a lot of people her age, had a pacemaker, a tiny device implanted in her chest to keep her heart beating the way it's supposed to. Alongside it sat a bedside monitor, a machine that connected to her phone every single night and quietly transmitted her heart data to her doctors. At 2:28 in the morning, the monitor lost its connection to her phone and went silent. And for the next several hours, nobody knew that Nancy had just been kidnapped. It wouldn't be until 11 o'clock in the morning, about 9 hours later, that the first alarm was raised. Every Sunday morning, Nancy attended service, and the people in the congregation knew her well enough to think that it was quite strange when her seat was empty. Someone decided to reach out to the family, just a simple check-in to let them know, like, hey, is Nancy okay? She's not in church today, which is kind of weird. And worried, Nancy's daughter Annie, along with her husband Tommaso, rushed over to her house, and when they arrived, they find exactly what they were afraid of. Nothing. No Nancy, no note, no sign of where she could have gone. They thought it even more weird that Nancy's phone was sitting on the counter. Her medication was by the sink, her purse, her keys, everything that she would have taken was still right there, right where she left it. But then Annie noticed that the two back doors of the house were propped wide open, like someone had left in a hurry or forgotten to pull it shut behind them. Annie stood there and stared at it and tried to find some type of reasonable explanation as to what is going on here. Maybe her mother had fallen ill in the middle of the night. Maybe she had called for help and paramedics had come and used the back door to get her out quickly. It would explain why it was still open. So she pulled out her phone and called her sister, and Savannah could immediately tell that her sister sounded panicked. So she asked, hey, is everything okay? And Annie responded, no, mom's missing. Annie explained the whole situation to Savannah, who then immediately started calling all the hospitals in the area to see if maybe this was just a big miscommunication. But all the hospitals said the same thing. No, we have no Nancy here. At some point, Annie and her husband Tommaso had called the police at exactly 12:03 p.m. And once they arrived, police walked through every single room, assessed every exit, and they noticed a detail that I would imagine would send a dread through everyone standing there. At the front entrance of the home, the Ring camera was unattached. But worse, on the ground, trailing out towards the driveway, was dried blood. And when investigators tested it, it matched to Nancy. With the blood on the ground and the Ring camera missing, police had to move extremely fast and scope out the entire neighborhood to see if maybe they can find her before it was too late. So they brought in search teams. Drones swept around the whole neighborhood. K-9 units worked through the surrounding area, but they found nothing. By the next day, due to the suspicious nature of the case, homicide investigators were brought in and the FBI joined the case. Detectives pulled every piece of footage they can find, pulling from Nancy's own doorbell, her backyard, her pool, the side yard. They went through all of it. But again, they found nothing. At some point, detectives questioned a neighbor who, for story purposes, we'll call Maddie. And Maddie tells detectives that on January 11th, about 2 weeks before Nancy was taken, she noticed a suspicious young man walking at an intersection that led directly to Nancy's house. Maddie didn't recognize him, so she tried to get a better look at his face, but she couldn't make anything out because the man had his hat pulled so far down, it covered almost everything, kind of like Joe from You. And almost immediately, something in her gut screamed, yeah, that guy just doesn't fit here. But there was something else that stuck out to her. The way the man dressed. He was wearing street clothes, not hiking gear or walking shoes, nothing that made sense for where he was. Now you might be wondering, how the hell does what someone's wearing make them suspicious? Well, Nancy didn't live just anywhere. She lived in Catalina Foothills, one of the most exclusive neighborhoods in all of Tucson, Arizona, sitting right at the base of Santa Catalina Mountains. All the residents there pretty much know each other, and they're all very outdoorsy people. Everyone hikes, everyone runs trails. That's just the culture there. So a young man wandering around wearing street clothes just didn't fit the aesthetic. But as Maddie continued to observe him, she noticed that he kept looking at one house in particular, Nancy's. And that just freaked her out so much. So when she got home, she immediately told her husband about it. But in the end, they kind of just chalked it up to someone being a little weird. Maybe he was a visitor, maybe he was lost or something. It didn't seem like a police matter. And honestly, can you blame them though? Like, they live in one of the most safest, most peaceful neighborhood in all of Arizona. Like, the crime rate there is basically non-existent. But now that Nancy is missing, Maddie just can't shake the feeling that the man she saw that day had something to do with it. But here's where this case goes from heartbreaking to absolutely terrifying. On February 2nd and 3rd, a local Tucson news station received a note, and then TMZ, then CBS, each one claiming the same thing. Nancy Guthrie was alive. This was a ransom note, and whoever sent it wanted $6 million in Bitcoin in exchange for Nancy's life. And it came with 2 deadlines. The first one was February 5th at 5 p.m. and the second one, February 9th, also at 5 p.m. And the kidnapper made it very clear that there would be far more severe consequences if missed. At first, some of the investigators thought the note might be fake, someone trying to insert themselves into like a high-profile case for attention. But these notes were different because buried inside them were details, specific details about the inside of Nancy's home, about what she was wearing the night she disappeared. Details that law enforcement had deliberately kept from the public. Details that only someone who was actually there could have known. And that made it really hard for them to ignore. But here's the problem. The notes gave no proof that Nancy was even alive or how to contact the kidnapper. On February 4th, with the first deadline less than 24 hours away, Savannah, Annie, and their brother Cameron sat down together, looked at a camera, and they made a video.
Our mom is our heart and our home. She is 84 years old. Her health, her heart is fragile. She lives in constant pain. She is without any medicine. She needs it to survive. She needs it not to suffer. We too have heard the reports about a ransom letter in the media. As a family, we are doing everything that we can. We are ready to talk. However, we live in a world where voices and images are easily manipulated. We need to know, without a doubt, that she is alive and that you have her. We want to hear from you, and we are ready to listen. Please, reach out to us.
And then they waited. And when February 5th came, the kidnapper sent them no proof that Nancy was still alive. What they said instead was another note, this time straight to TMZ. And this one said something that made the whole thing just feel so much darker. It basically said that Nancy is safe but scared, and that she knew exactly what the demands were. And then, as if that wasn't enough, the note said they were done. Done communicating, done going back and forth. The deal was the deal. I don't know about you, but that gives me chills, because what do you even do in this type of situation? If they send the money, because it's in Bitcoin, it's untraceable. So with no proof of life, they could very well be getting scammed. So running out of time and desperate for any kind of answer, Cameron, Nancy's son, gets in front of a camera by himself.
Whoever is out there holding our mother, we want to hear from you. We haven't heard anything directly. We need you to reach out, and we need a way to communicate with you so we can move forward. But first, we have to know that you have our mom. We want to talk to you, and we are waiting for contact.
But once again, the kidnapper sent nothing. And now the second deadline is coming, February 9th, the one the note said would come with consequences. And on February 7th, Savannah, Annie, and Cameron released yet another emotional video.
We received your message, and we understand. We beg you now to return our mother to us so that we can celebrate with her. This is the only way we will have peace. This is very valuable to us, and we will pay.
But as of right now, 2 months have passed and Nancy is still missing. And the kidnapper has never once proved that she is alive. And that silence is what makes this so unbearable. We need some answers. Her family needs answers. That is all for today. Group hug.